All right, so Ireland is set to get its new hate speech law rattling through the Dáil or the committees or whatever they do quite soon. This has been in the pipeline for a while, and it's following on what seems to be a trend for certain countries. Just thinking in our own neck of the woods, we have the UK, particularly Scotland, who has brought in a particularly onerous and draconian set of hate speech laws, and it is turning out to be quite a shitfest. There's countless videos of police in Scotland kicking down doors and arresting people for all kinds of things, real and imagined. So what can we expect from this new law, which is going to be affecting me and everyone here in the Republic of Ireland? Well, I just saw some stuff popping up about this today, and I thought, oh, okay. I don't know much about this. I've heard a lot of the kerfuffle coming from the UK. I've seen some of these, viral videos of all kinds of stuff going on. I'm thinking, no, that doesn't look good. And I'm wondering, is that what we're going to have here? So I decided to just do a bit of cursory looking into the thing. I'm very much a hurler in the ditch with these things. I don't know what a lot of these things are until I go and have to look them up. So this is what I've got. Join with me, if you will, as we have a brief delve into what is coming down the pipeline. So the Irish Times, what do they say? For the first time in history, the history of the state, it will become a specific criminal offence with longer prison terms to commit a hate crime based on the colour of a person's skin, sexual orientation, or their gender, including gender expression or identity. Now, as I said, I'm more or less just an ordinary guy walking down the street. So, to my limited understanding, I never have any interactions with the hate speech situation, never have had, and most people, in fact the vast majority of people, never have had. It was never really a point of discussion in all my growing up years. It was never on everybody's lips. It was never something we chatted about at the water cooler or over a pint. It wasn't a thing, I mean, I grew up in the era, which is not that distant, but God, it seems so sometimes, the era where we were taught from a very early age that sticks and stones may break your bones, but words can never hurt you. Well, that's all gone by the wayside in the not too distant past, and now it seems words can hurt you. And there are a generation or two of very easily offended people who think that words are actually the same as violence, that somebody saying an unkind comment, a comment that might hurt your feelings, or maybe somebody slagging you off. And we have this thing in Ireland where we slag each other. I mean, it's just an Irish thing. We have the crack, and part of the crack is that we slag each other. We make playful fun of each other, and okay, it can get out of hand at times, but generally speaking, that's just part of the Irish to and fro. It's part of the Irish way of being. It always was. Now, maybe people from other cultures, maybe they don't get that, but this is Ireland. It's like Guinness, It's what we do. It's how we are. I'm sure the Swiss have their isms. I'm sure people from Somalia have their isms. Well, that's an Irish ism. A little bit of slagging here and there always was just us, and part of the general way of things here. Anyway, let's have a look at this, because I'm thinking, well, does that mean I won't be able to slag anybody anymore in case I commit a hate crime, or they might report me to the guards, and then my door will get kicked in, and then I'll be questioned about, did you say X, Y, and Z, and did you say that because that person had red hair, or that person was quite short of stature, or because that person had a mole. I don't know. This is, as I said, I'm genuinely curious about this. I'm genuinely interested in this, and I'm also a little bit afraid of this, because a lot of these things start off from a very virtuous place and end up not where you expected them to end up. Getting exploited by people who are just doing it because they can. Not what the thing was intended for. So I want to see, is this likely to go that way? Will it go that way? Will we suddenly, will the thought police be monitoring something you might say innocuously on the street? You know, if you're walking down the street and some idiot is coming along and they're buried in their phone, which is something you see a lot of these days, and they just bump into you, just walk into you because they're not watching where they're going. And you say, watch where you're going, you feckin' idiot. It's a response anybody could make. But what happens if that person happens to be, say, an ethnic minority person? What happens if that person is a member of the LGBT community? What happens if that person is of the Muslim faith? Well, then, can they just go to the guards because they feel that you've slighted them, or they don't like you calling them a feckin' idiot, even though they walked into you because they were looking at their phone and not looking where they were? Will the guards then come to my house later that day and say, we've had reports of you being a hateful individual, and we in Ireland take this kind of thing very, very seriously. You called somebody of X, Y, or Z group a feckin' idiot, and they took that as you calling them a feckin' idiot because they were X, Y, or Z. Where do I stand there? Can I then say, no, it was nothing to do with that. They just walked into me. They literally walked into me for no reason other than they weren't paying attention, like a feckin' idiot. Anyway, getting off track. So here we go. For the first time in history, the state will become specific. Okay, we got that. Other new protected characteristics from which a hate-based conviction can result includes a person's race, nationality, religion, ethnic and national origin, and any disability. The new offences set to be provided for under the Criminal Justice (Hate Crime Bill) in 2021 are the first of their kind in the Republic. Minister for Justice Helen McEntee is due to publish the general scheme of the bill on Friday morning. Alrighty, so let's jump on over here, and we have the Burkean. This is an article from a couple of months ago. So what do we have here? The entire they had a consultation process for this. So usually when the government says, oh, we're having this big long consultation process, it's pretty much they know what they want to do, they know how they want to do it, so they just need a rubber stamping exercise. So they round up all the usual suspects, people who agree with them, people who are likely to agree with them, and people who want to agree with them, and they put all these people together and they get all their opinions because they already know their opinions. And then they'll throw in a couple of wild cards in there just to kind of mix it up a little, some currants in the cake, but basically they have no effect on the outcome. The outcome is preordained. So they had a consultation process. So what came out of it was hate speech laws are coming through, the updating of the 1989 Prohibition to Incitement to Hatred Act to produce something far more gnarly and easier to convict perpetrators. Because, like I said, this was never, it was on the books, a lot of this from 89, it's my understanding. But there was really nobody getting prosecuted because nobody was all that bothered. It wasn't a thing, it wasn't an issue. Nobody was that particularly worried about it or alarmed about it. People were just getting on with everyday life. There was a bit of, there were shitty people. There's always shitty people everywhere. People who are just unpleasant, people who are a bit annoying, people who are insulting. It happens every day, all day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year. by and large, you try and stay away from people like that. You can't always. Sometimes you have to work with people like that. Sometimes somebody on the bus is like that. Somebody on the train is like that. Somebody in a shop is like that. You encounter these people 24/7. But we never thought of it as a problem that we need to go to the guards about, unless it gets out of hand. And by and large, most rational, reasonable people know the difference between somebody just being a dickhead and somebody actually being harmful and potentially threatening. That's a whole different kettle of fish. And I think we all always knew this. At least, I think we always knew this. And most people were reasonable and rational and would quite happily just fob off some asshole. They didn't go to the guards, but they weren't calling 999 just because somebody stepped in front of them in a queue in Tesco's, or because somebody made a comment about their hair or about their jacket, you know? Like, that always went on. Now, I don't know will this be a hate crime in future? Possibly. Let's see. The Department of Justice conducted various feasibility studies comparing hate speech regimes across Europe and is conscious not to repeat mistakes of the infamously puritanical UK hate speech laws. Well, yeah, these things always have a way of just ending up in the same place. Oh no, we're not going to end up over there, not like those Egypts, and then you end up over there. The broadening of protected groups, and this is the bit that worries me. The broadening of protected groups. Who are these protected groups? I mean, I am a citizen, a proud citizen of the Irish Republic. I was born here, I likely die here. And I am equal to every other Irish citizen. No matter their age, no matter their sex, gender, religion, colour, creed, whatever you want to pick. We're all equal. At least that's my understanding of where we're at. And I'm happy with that. I want to be protected as much as any other citizen. Not more, not less. So when I see mention of protected groups, no, I don't know. My spidey senses are tingling. To include Irish travellers following their recognition as an ethnic group, yeah, okay, as well as transgender individuals. Now, already I'm getting a little bit iffy about this, because now we're into specifying that there are some Irish citizens just a little bit more equal than others. All right, let's read on. There is implicit mention that right-wing figures and candidates will be targeted more heavily. Right-wing figures? What? Why right-wing figures? Why not left-wing figures? Well, who is a right-wing figure? What is a right-wing figure and candidate? So again, my spidey senses are tingling a little bit on this one. Because what is defined as right-wing? And why is the right-wing any worse than the left-wing? It is like, where are we going with this? And candidates. Now, by candidates, I'm guessing they mean candidates running for elections. That would be my take from that. So is this a way of the establishment, let's face it, left-leaning establishment? I mean, the Irish political establishment is only different shades of left. I mean, in political terms, in classical political terms. So is this an attempt by the establishment to pretty much decommission anybody who isn't leaning the right way? I mean, this is okay. All right, let's not rush to judgment. They'll be targeted more heavily. So again, I'm getting back to this equal thing, and I'm an equalist. It's a simple equalist. That's it. You don't need any more. Just equality. There you go. It's done. It's all there for you. It's all you need. One word: equality. As soon as you get off that track, as soon as you deviate from that track, you're down the rabbit hole. It never ends. You never get off. You can never get back once you go off that simple track. Equality. So they're going to target these right-wing figures and candidates more heavily, with a higher standard than an ordinary person. So these are not ordinary people. Right-wing figures and candidates have a higher standard than an ordinary person. Okay. Regarding hate speech for their verbal and online posting. Okay. All right. Social media comment sections are likely to be included within the purview of hate speech laws, with the potential to even criminalize those the department deems as spreading disinformation. Again, who decides what is disinformation? There will be safeguards for academic, artistic, and political speech. Well, right-wing figures and candidates, it doesn't seem we're going to get much protection here, for whatever reason. Though there is no elucidation on how this will manifest itself exactly. Simply sharing material regarded as hateful, or that could be deemed to incite violence, could fall under the crosshairs of any bill, according to some recommendations. Anyway, so I was curious about this, so I decided to look up the actual law that exists. I mean, the law that we have. The 1989 Prohibition of Incitement to Hatred Act. And I was thinking, okay, I wonder what's actually in that law. Or why is it not enough? Why is it deficient? Why do we need a new law? Maybe it's just crap. Maybe it's nonsense. So, let's see. Here we go. From the department itself. Prohibition of Incitement to Hatred Act 1989. Blah-de-blah-de-blah. Arrangement of sections. Interpretation. Let's have a look at interpretation. In this act, broadcast means the transmission, relaying, or distribution by wireless, telegraphy, or anything, which that includes Twitter and Facebook and all those new things. Okay, it's fair enough. Broadcast. We all know what broadcast means. Sounds, signs, visual images, or signals intended for direct reception by the general public, whether such communication, sounds, signs, visual images, or signals are actually received or not. So you just tweet a thing out, and even if nobody reads it, you can be caught. Fair enough. To distribute means to distribute to the public or a section of the public. Words shall be construed accordingly. Fair enough. Hatred means hatred against a group of persons in the state or elsewhere on account of their race, colour, nationality, religion, ethnic or national origins, membership of the travelling community, or sexual orientation. So, all right, that's a pretty catch-all there. What are we missing there? What? That's pretty comprehensive. Everybody's covered there. Everybody seems to be in there. So what's a new law going to do? That seems pretty comprehensive there. What hatred means. Hatred against a group of persons in the state or elsewhere. That doesn't leave many people out. On account of their race, colour, nationality, religion, ethnic or national origins, and memberships of the travelling community or sexual orientation. So you've got everybody in there. Who's missing? Who's missing on that? Who's not counted there? This is 1989. They were pretty ahead of the curve there, as far as I can see. To publish means publish to the public or a section of the public, and cognate words that can be construed accordingly. Recording, where are we going? Yeah, recording means any record from which visual images or sounds may by any means be reproduced. So that can be like Apple Podcast, that can be Twitter, it can be Facebook, it can be YouTube. All right, so we all know what that means. By any means be reproduced, and references to the distribution, showing or playing of a recording are to its distribution, showing or playing to the public or a section of the public, and distribute, show and play, and cognate blah 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 shall be construed accordingly. So again, that's any kind of publishing, any kind of recording. You could, back in those days you were recording on a tape cassette. Yeah, I remember them days. And then if the thing got caught up in your tape recorder, you had to. It's a different story. If you're not of a certain age, you don't understand the pain of a tape cassette getting mangled in your tape recorder. So let's go to the next section. All right. Number 2. It shall be an offence for a person A, to publish or distribute written material, B, to use words, behave or display written material in any place other than inside a private residence, or inside a private residence, so that the words, behaviour or material are heard or seen by persons outside the residence. So that, even in 1989, that there is covering somebody sitting in their front room, in their bedroom, in their kitchen, on a laptop, on a PC, on their phone, tweeting out offensive stuff, insightful stuff. It's there already. I'm looking at it. I can see it. I'm looking at the words. In any place other than inside a private residence, or inside a private residence, so that the words, behaviour or material, your tweet, your voice message, are heard or seen by persons outside the residence. Or C, to distribute, show, or play a recording of visual images or sounds. That's pretty comprehensive. What are we missing here? This is all on the statute. This is legal. This is a law already. If the written material words, where are we going with this? Okay, to distribute, show, or play a recording of visual images or sounds. If the written material, words, behaviour, visual images or sounds, as the case may be, are threatening, abusive, or insulting, and are intended, or having in regard to all the circumstances, are likely to stir up hatred. Okay. All right. I get you. This is already a law, by the way. We've got this. We've had this since 1989 on the books. 2. In proceedings for an offence under subsection 1, if the accused person is shown to have intended to stir up hatred, it shall be a defence for him to prove, him or her I suppose, to prove that he was not aware of the content of the material or recording concerned, and did not suspect, and had no reason to suspect, that the material or recording was threatening, abusive, or insulting. So, how many times have you just said something in passing or without thinking, and somebody else took insult, took offence? That's an unfortunate situation, but you didn't intend to cause them offence. It wasn't your intention to offend them. I mean, sometimes people are offended by this and that you aren't offended by. Everybody's different. Everybody's got different thresholds. And God knows in today's millennial cotton wool generation, some people are perpetually offended by everything. So this is important, and it's mentioned here, and it's rightly mentioned here. You can say, look, I didn't mean to offend that person. I wasn't trying to offend that person. I didn't know that what I said or tweeted or wrote or whatever showed would offend them. The fact that they took offense is unfortunate, and I regret that, but I wasn't intending to do it. That's an actual real defense, and it should be, and it is written in the law, and it should be. It's a completely reasonable situation, a reasonable stance. If he is not shown to have intended to store up hatred, to prove that he did not intend the words, behaviour, or material concern to be and was not aware that they might be threatening, abusive, or insulting. 3. In this section, private residence means any structure. Okay, tent, caravan, we get that. This law is I mean, I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but what's wrong with it? What's wrong with it? This is already on the books. We have this. We have this already. Why do we need a new one? If the new one is only so that they can just write in on top of this some new buzzwords and to now specify certain protected groups in society that will get extra kudos, extra protection, extra favour, extra believability, then that's wrong. And it's wrong because you are now going down the road of taking an equal society and making some parts of that society less equal. And that's a slippery slope. That is not what a free and fair democratic society should look like. There should just be equality. No ifs, buts, and ands. Just, you're all citizens, regardless of your background, regardless of your status, regardless of your religion, your race, all of that stuff. The state will treat you completely equally. The law will treat you equally. The law is blind, should be blind. That's, to me, how we should be moving forward. To start down a road of suddenly picking out certain groups in Irish society and saying, you are entitled to more protection than they are. Regardless of how well meant this might be. As soon as you start saying, well, I like this child better than this child. That's not how families operate. That's not how societies should operate. We're all equal. We should all have equal access to the law. There should be just one law for everyone. And from my reading, and I haven't gone through it all, but from my reading of the basics of the 1989 law, I honestly don't know what they're doing or where they're going. What more is needed here? It's all been done. It has all been done. It's all there in black and white. It's already enshrined in Irish law. So, I don't know. It worries me. It worries me because I don't see where they're trying to go with this. This has already been done like 40 years ago. 30 something years ago. So leave it alone. If it's not broken, don't fix it. And if you're trying to tinker around with something that already is okay, then it unnerves me. Because I then start thinking, well, why? I don't know. Anyway, yeah, seems hate speech laws are on the way to supersede the previous hate speech laws. Anyway, you get what I mean. Okay, that's it. That's it for me today. Watch this space.